June 22nd meeting of the Long Hill Township Planning Board will come to order at 7:32. Would you read the announcements, please?
Absolutely. First item on the agenda, call to order and statement of compliance. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by posting a copy of the public meeting dates on the municipal bulletin board and website, by sending a copy to the Echo Sentinel newspaper, and by filing a copy with the municipal clerk. Number 2, standard board procedures. Any hearing conducted by the board is a quasi-judicial proceeding. Any questions or comments must be limited to issues that are relevant to what the board may legally consider in reaching a decision, and decorum appropriate to a judicial hearing must be maintained at all times. Number 3, meeting cutoff. Announcement is made that as a matter of procedure, it is the intention of the planning board not to continue any matter past 10:30 p.m. at any regular or special meeting of the board, unless a motion is passed by the members then present to extend the meeting to a later specified cutoff time. Number 4, Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Roll call. Deputy Mayor Ray.
Present.
Committeeman Verleza is currently absent. Ms. Dill?
Present.
Mr. Hands?
Here.
Mr. Malinowski is excused this evening. Mr. File is excused this evening. Mr. Richardson?
Here.
Vice Chairman Jones?
Present.
Chairman Sanda?
Here.
Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you. For those of you watching on television, I'm waving my hand. I'm over here. I hope you can see me. This will be a very brief meeting, I warn you. The first item on the agenda was to have been Elite Properties on Valley Road. However, they have asked for an extension, and do we have a resolution language for that extension?
We don't usually do a resolution. We just, we say that they are being carried. They have requested to be carried to August 10th, and the board would need to make a motion and a second, and and we would have to
Can I have
vote.
a motion to that effect, please?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And that's to carry without further notice. So they are
Without further notice.
without further notice to August
August
10th,
10th.
2021.
I am guessing that they are working diligently to improve on their application, but I can't be sure because they're not here. The next item on the agenda had been the resolution for the Keel Block application. Well, I have apparently a revised copy here that doesn't have that. For the record, note that Mr. Verleza has arrived.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The next item on the agenda had been the Keel Block application resolution, but that will be postponed until the next meeting. The next item on the agenda had been minutes, and that will be postponed to the next meeting or later. And the next item on the agenda is the updated master schedule of hearings and applications. Do you have that?
I printed out for everyone. Everyone has copies on the dais.
I do not have a copy. No, master schedule of,
This is the
no,
master
master
plan.
schedule of applications.
This is the master plan schedule.
Not master plan, master schedule.
Oh, I did not print that out. I apologize. I thought you were just speaking of your master plan schedule.
Okay, in
My
that case,
apologies.
let me take the other piece of paper which is in front of you, which is a tentative schedule for the master plan. We're into new business already. If you would take a quick look at this, I'd appreciate it, and if you have any comments or questions, I will entertain them. This is my first cut at when we're going to get it done.
So, Mr. Chair, my first initial thought here is you have items listed for 2022. Are we allowed to carry stuff over into another fiscal year where there may be a different governing board, different chair,
Well,
vice chair?
the next board will have to deal with what they inherit on January 1st. My intention here is to recognize the fact that by statute, we owe a master plan in 2023. That's a 10-year cycle. And since 2023 is only 2.5 years away, it seems imprudent to attempt to rush the master plan effort to get it done, say, this year or next year. Besides that, we have resource constraints, and we also have a hearing schedule, and we have to work around those. And so my tentative schedule is that in early 2023, we will adopt finally a master plan. That's 7 quarters from now. But there's room to slip that if necessary. The important change that you will notice is that I would like to get the land use element out of the way first, since that is a required element and it is the biggie around which everything else clusters. I want to get that done, and all of you have already started work on pieces of that, but I want to get that done so that we can get that adopted as a standalone element early next year, and then start in parallel on the ordinance work that has to be done. We haven't done any ordinance work in almost 2 years. And we have a lot of stuff we can do without the master plan, thanks to Mr. Jones' effort at consolidating the PRISM loose ends and the work of the zoning board and a bunch of other things that I've been accumulating. So we can start work on the ordinance review, but the bulk of the ordinance work will depend on adopting the land use element. So my intention is that we finish the land use element and get it through public hearing and adoption, and then spend the rest of next year on the other elements, so that in early 2023, we can adopt a consolidated master plan.
Mr. Chair, there's also been several other elements that were worked on last year that this board, members of this board did comment on, like circulation and several others, which I thought were pretty much done. I don't see those listed here.
They're listed under other elements. The 2 mandatory elements are land use and housing. And then there are the other elements, and the other elements...
So other is the catch-all?
Excuse me?
Other is the catch-all?
Other is the catch-all, and the other elements all have to conform to the land use element. Part of the problem I have seen as I review the work that was done over the past 6 years is that the other elements tend to conflict with each other and to conflict with the land use element, which has never been brought to the board in almost 5 years. And so I want to get the land use element done first, because that is the foundation around which the other elements are built. And to the extent that they are redundant, they might be shaved down. So land use is most important. And furthermore, land use is the only element that stands in the way of improving the ordinances. And I want to get those ordinances rolling after we adopt the land use element, and then we'll pick up circulation and open space and recreation and all the rest of them, because they are, as you pointed out, pretty much done anyway. But they need to be packaged around the land use element. And none of them are in the critical path to anything in the town. The land use element is in the critical path, and we hear that, well, we heard it a great deal during PRISM, and we will continue to hear that we need ordinance changes which the master plan has to direct. Any other questions about this schedule? I know that you are all working on the specific assignments. If anybody would like to report on where they stand, you're welcome to do that now. Otherwise, I'm not going to press you because I know it's only been a couple weeks.
Thanks for putting this together, Dennis. It certainly, to me at least, it makes sense. It's a good plan to get in the final product in 2023.
Well, you'll notice the first item here says board members develop and board discussion of the 5 assigned hotspots. That's this summer's work.
Yep.
But I'm not gonna push anybody tonight because of the fact that we only made those assignments 2 weeks ago. And I know that some of those are in process. If anyone wants to ask me questions about background work that I might have been doing over the past few years that would help you with your work, fine, ask me. I'll be glad to sit down with anybody. Our next meeting is 3 weeks from tonight, and that we assume will be the Parisi application, as well as minutes and Keel block.
So Dennis, just given that we have, it's fairly general, summer 2021, do we want to maybe at the next meeting at least have some kind of schedule so that we keep to the 5 assigned hotspot discussion? We have that ending by the end of the summer, and I'm fine to do that because I wasn't assigned to any of the.
This is the
hotspots.
first cut at a schedule. Over the next couple of weeks, I will be talking to each of the committees and asking them how close they are to being ready to present and discuss. Although, pragmatically speaking, if we've got one meeting in July with a hearing and one meeting in August with a hearing, chances are we're not going to get to this until September. I don't mean to put it off, but we do have resource limitations and time constraints. And you may recall that at the last meeting, we entertained the notion of having a second meeting during July and August where we could fit this stuff in, and it was roundly rejected by the board members. So this schedule is somewhat at the mercy of the fact that we don't have any meetings scheduled.
Right, I mean, given that, Dennis, as I said, I looked at it and thought, well, it's a doable schedule. It's nice we have it, but I mean, already the summer 2021, the very first one, we're not doing until September.
I am well aware.
It's like
I have been well aware of the schedule of the 2016 master plan since the committee was formed in 2014.
okay.
And we have a new deadline, and we'll fill in the schedule as best we can as we go along.
But my suggestion here would be to, rather than kind of leave it, hey, we'll get to it in September kind of a thing, because we're not going to get to it in September, that with such a kind of wishy-washy date. I would say that maybe not at this meeting, but certainly over the next week, we start to commit to actual dates whenever we're going to have something ready, so that if it is September, we're done with that in September, because that's not summer to me.
Your point is taken, thank you.
All right. I just want deja vu all over again.
Any other new business? Any old business? At this point, I'm going to ask the board to go into a very short executive session for the,
Sorry, Dennis. No, finish your comment, and then I was going to just
No,
ask
go
about.
ahead.
Actually, just right crossed my mind. Are we going to be in person now for the foreseeable future? Is that the general practice? Are we going to be in person for these meetings?
actually, this is incorrect. We're going to be discussing contract matters.
That's fine, but new business. Is this? Are we going to? I'm just curious. Are we going to stay in person now?
Oh, the executive session will be brief, and no action will be taken at the executive session, and no action will be taken after the executive session, other than to come out and adjourn.
I think it's yes,
No, but what
David.
Dave is asking is whether or not we're
I'm
going
sorry, I
to
didn't
be
ask.
meeting in person from now on.
I'm just curious if that because we talked
The
about doing a
answer is
hybrid
yes.
schedule. That's the only reason I'm asking.
The answer is yes, David, and I think
Is that
at the last
plan?
meeting that the planning board had, our last Zoom meeting, in addition to reminding everybody that our regular meetings will be in person, I think the only thing that was discussed was holding committee meetings via Zoom.
Okay.
I think that the
Or
overwhelming
hybrid, right?
feeling was that when committees such as ordinance or, you know, anybody working on the master plan, you know,
That's fine.
or anything committee-wise
Okay.
would take place on a Zoom because we're going to be here every Tuesday night.
So I'm going to have to go back to business casual.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, and towns have considered doing the hybrid model for these meetings, but it's impossible to do when.
I agree.
We've tried it in other towns,
Yeah,
and it's a
agree.
complete disaster. You have people sitting on a Zoom call who can't hear the application that's being
Yeah.
heard before the board. It's terrible. So I would recommend, and I prefer, just either meet in public or meet on Zoom.
Fine.
Don't do both.
Beyond the scope of the
I'd counter
authority
that.
of this board to determine.
I'm sorry?
It's beyond the scope of the authority of this board to determine how we meet. That's the township committee's decision,
Sure.
and we live with it. We all have to put our shoes on from now on.
And my recommendation still stands. Don't do the hybrid.
No.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd counter that.
I mean, I don't think we don't have the capabilities to do a hybrid.
Sorry, Dennis, I
anyway.
just wanted to,
So-
everybody
Most
to
towns don't, but they try.
see where we stand, that's all. Okay.
Deborah, do you have the language for a resolution to go into executive session?
No, of course, I forgot that. Can you read some language going
I will
into?
read some language.
Thank you.
Okay, here we go. Whereas the Open Public Meetings Act requires that all public meetings be open and include members of the public, and whereas the Open Public Meetings Act also permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances, and whereas the planning board is of the opinion that such circumstances exist, now therefore be it resolved by the planning board of the Township of Long Hill, County of Morris, State of New Jersey, as follows. The public shall be excluded from the executive session of June 22nd, 2021. Okay. The general nature of the subject matter to be discussed is as follows. Contract matters, professional services contracts. Minutes of said discussion will be made available as soon as it is deemed in the public interest to do so. And number 4, the planning board may take official action on those items discussed in executive session upon completion of the executive session. This resolution takes effect immediately.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.